Good evening, everyone. Wait, is it really evening? Yeah, by my clock, it's already 6:24. So, good evening, yes. Good evening, my dear viewers. Welcome to another segment of Nocturnal Sage. In this episode, there is one lie that I want to uncover. One lie that has been said, well, maybe at least implicitly, but it's a notion that many people are inclined to believe. Many people think that earning degrees, passing exams, and earning uh, yeah, having academic distinctions and getting known for all of these things are the end all and be all of education. Now that is what I want to deconstruct. Education is not about the medals. It's not even about the raw information that our teachers feed us through their PowerPoint files, textbooks, and other pen and paper activities or materials. There is this one principle that I, as an educator, believe in. It is this truth that is underrated simply because it won't help market a school. I believe that we educate ourselves, we subject ourselves to attending classes not because we want to please the teacher, nor get it right most of the time, not commit mistakes at all. All my life, I have been brought up that way. I have been taught to fear failure, to be always right, to not commit any errors. I had once thought that education is about removing all my weaknesses and becoming this cutter mold of a citizen that people expected me to be. Now that I'm a teacher myself, I realize that it is not what that kind of thinking is not what I want my students to have, but rather I want them to imbibe this value which I think most teachers will not teach their students. I believe in this saying, a good teacher saves his or her students from their influence, from the former's influence. And that holds true in my career. Now, the one big lie that I've spoken of can be deconstructed with this alternative viewpoint. Education is not about getting it right nor pleasing the teacher, but rather it is about getting to know how we respond to certain stimuli. While having practice with this substitute karate instructor, I had realized one thing. He kept on correcting us, telling us our flaws in every movement. And being the good student that I've always been, I was always compelled to follow his instructions. But the more I act on his words, like fix your stance or do it like this, do it his way, the more resistance that I feel in myself. Now, which is more important there? To prove the earlier point that I had made, I had two choices. The first one is to practice to please him, for him not to point out any flaws in my movement. And the next choice is to focus more on how I respond to his correction. While walking in the mall right after, I began to believe that the second option was what I wanted to make, what was what I wanted to take. How I responded to his teaching approach, I think, was the very core of training. You see, just like martial arts training, whatever endeavor you are engaged in, teachers may say harsh words against you, but it's not because they hate you or because they want to prove their self-righteousness. Well, that was the thinking that I had of this substitute uh, karate instructor. Yeah, he's a very good teacher, a very good martial artist, but in my mind, I find him not. He has many things to learn as a teacher. Now, I realized that it's not about him. The training is it's not supposed to be the tip of the arrow should not be pointed at him. It has to be pointed at me, at my core, because I'm the practitioner. Training is about learning my ways, about the individual discovering how he or she, let's say, cringes when being criticized, until he or she learns that there are other ways of responding to such negative stimuli. So I think that is one secret that most educators don't explicitly tell their students. I had teachers who told me that the reasons why they raised their voice at times is because they quote unquote love us. But in addition to that, the reason why sometimes I raise my voice at my students is because I want to get their attention. I want them to keep focused on what should be the center of their awareness. If I give them pleasant stimuli all the time, it would get boring. Also, the same with negative. So it's good that I have disagreeable teachers like my martial, my karate substitute, my substitute karate instructor. Even if he points out our flaws most of the time and seldom gives commendations, I think it's what I need as a practitioner. I entered the area of karate not because I want to have a higher rank belt, nor I want to be known for something special. Well, in my years of practicing the craft, it's not really about the belt nor the distinction that matters. It's about continuing to learn more about the way one moves his or her body. That is the angle that I want to focus on. How I responded to his criticisms is where I should begin my training every time that I have classes with him. So it's that even if he has flaws as a teacher, I want a teacher who's encouraging. But if he's not like that, then that's not the issue there. The issue is how I respond to his remarks. How will I use his remarks? That is always the crisis. And I want to, you know, echo that choice to my students. How do you respond when you see these criticisms on your papers? The annotations in red ink or green, depending on which color I choose to mark your papers. It's always a choice whether you want to accept them positively or not. Well, I do not mind if students will hate me for those comments, because my teaching skills are not the issue, are not the centrality of training, of education. Rather, the student should focus on his or herself, on the way he or she um, he takes these criticisms. So education is really not about avoiding mistakes. It's about knowing what you do in whatever condition that you're in. If you, let's say by chance you're good at passing examinations, you always attain perfect marks. You have academic distinctions. Now, your lesson there, okay? Your lesson is to wonder how it may feel to fail. You know, I think having academic distinctions and having the knack for passing examinations are not perfect situations, because boredom is not fun to spend your life in a boring way. If you don't encounter any fluctuations, if you always succeed, short term that is, you may find it difficult to undergo short term failures. That is why it's also important that as educators, yeah, educators should also put students in inconvenient circumstances. That is why I had the confidence to call on students randomly during class discussions to answer my queries, especially those who don't recite. It's because I want them to be more aware of their potential, of how they deliver their ideas. I want them to also focus on their avoidance to getting exposed in the limelight. That's part of the lesson that some students ought to learn. And as for those who frequently recite in class, their lesson is to know how they respond if they want an opportunity and it was kind of withheld from them because others need that opportunity the most. So that is the big lie that I want to shatter. Well, I cannot help it though if people will continue to believe in this lie. As I've said, we always stand at the dangerous crossroads. Do we believe, do we want to believe that education is about passing exams and pleasing teachers, not committing mistakes? Or do you want the alternative viewpoint of education, which is aimed at our beings, at our character, how we make decisions, how we form habits, how we respond in general to life? If you ask me, the second option is actually it's not that it's more ideal, not just that, but it's also more practical, because you know why? You won't stay in school forever. If you've spent 5 years out of school, you would understand what I mean by taking the second option instead of the first. I've had academic distinctions when I was in high school, in college, but right now, what I'm learning about myself, my aversion towards failure, my fear, my hatred of failure, my, I really hate being an inconvenience to other people. I hate being a burden to others. I always want to feel useful, to feel needed. That is, the ultimate lesson in life that I've had so far. Something that that other teachers, that my teachers in college and in high school and even elementary never told me. So that's why I encourage you to take the second option than the first. Though having academic distinctions is not at all bad, it's actually an advantage, especially if you're applying for college. But the advantage is simply short term, because no one will remember you for graduating as valedictorian or with honors at least, or being an exemplary in conduct awardee. No one will give you a Grammy award for that. But you'll be remembered though on how you treat people, on what you are every day, whether you're in front of other people, whether you're you're doing your backstage performance, people will remember your habits, the total sum of your habits. So that's why it's very important that whatever I am in front of the camera, I'm still the same. This me that you're talking with, in at the dinner table, when I'm with my friends, or simply when I'm alone. Right now, I'm still aware of my habits. Concretely, I have a lot to learn about communication. I know that through making these videos, at the very least, I've become more aware of my, small mannerisms when I speak. And whenever I watch these videos of myself speaking, a miracle happens. I end up not repeating these mannerisms anymore just by becoming aware. Not by acting on words like, don't repeat this mannerism, or be like this, be like that. Just this simple awareness is enough to change one habit. So that's it for this segment. The secret behind education. Now, if you approve of this segment, please do give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you want to get automatic updates on my next uploads. And if you want to root for me explicitly, we have the comment section below. Or if there are some points that need clarification, don't hesitate to air your contentions. That's really the reason why I made this channel. Is because it's really a good opportunity to have a discourse on ideas that aren't brought up in personal conversations, neither in the classroom. So, see you next time on the next segment of Nocturnal Sage. If you have any requests for certain topics, do let me know as well. Thank you and good night.